Hey, welcome to SI Now. It is Thursday, July 20th. I'm Maggie Gray alongside Robin Lundberg. We'll start off with some headlines. Robin and LeVeon Bell not happy with his contract status. Bell reportedly turned down an offer of at least 2 years and $30 million because he believes his ability to be a pass catcher increases his value beyond that of your quote-unquote normal running back. Now, he has the option to play under the franchise tag. That means a guaranteed contract of $12.1 million for the season, which would make him the highest paid running back in the league. So, should Bell agree to those terms, or should he hold out for a better deal?
He should probably hold out because doesn't he miss the first few games of the season anyway?
I'll have to give money back.
But look, I totally see his case. And in fact, I think when you look at NFL labor relations, it may be coming to a head at some point. We've heard Richard Sherman talk about them going on strike. But you look at Bell's case in particular. He's probably the consensus #1 overall draft pick in fantasy. He may be the Family Feud answer for the best overall player in the NFL, period. He plays a position where he is a human projectile and a human target at the same time. And he does get those targets as a wide receiver. He is the second leading receiver on the team. So I think he is well within his rights to demand a higher contract, especially when, if you think about it, yeah, it's a lot of money he'd be turning down, but the people who are trying to save the money, they're dealing with much more money than he is.
Of course, and I'm very often pro-labor. All the time. I feel like the players should make the most money because they're the ones who are responsible for the success of the league. LeVeon Bell, though, might have an issue here. First of all, he's had to serve 2 suspensions. He's missed a total of 5 games. So starting the season, but then ending the season with injuries has also been a detriment to him, and that's something he's had to overcome as well. So he particularly, while he does have leverage for being a great player, I don't know if he has enough leverage in this case to win out over the organization. Listen, he is a great pass catcher. He is a great running back, that's for sure. But I don't know if the combination adds up to him making $15 million, which is what the top level wide receivers are making. Now, here's something that's interesting. You mentioned Richard Sherman. There was a lot of talk when all these NBA contracts were being thrown around, this funny money of NBA contracts, about why can't the NFL players get more guaranteed contracts? Well, if they're willing to take shorter contracts, that might be a possibility in the future. So if LeVeon Bell wants to take maybe 1 or 2 years is all you may get in this league that's guaranteed. Also, Pittsburgh Steelers never give guarantees past 1 year, and I don't know if LeVeon Bell is going to be able to change all that history from that organization.
I think we've seen it trending a little bit towards what you're referencing, whether you look at Kirk Cousins or how about Darrelle Revis, who I think proved that in the NFL, your only leverage is your ability.
Sure.
And while LeVeon Bell still has that top flight ability, he's going to have to try and cash out on it. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't want to pay him, find out what it's like to not have LeVeon Bell around.
The only thing is, though, Revis filled a need that was so rare. And running backs, while LeVeon Bell is one of the best, David Johnson, I think LeVeon Bell won 1A. I think that people and franchises believe that running backs you can find, whereas Revis and what he was able to do by being so good in one-on-one coverage, I think had way more leverage than LeVeon Bell has.
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's kind of like pizza or something, if I don't have a better analogy, where some people say any pizza is good pizza, right, and that might be true, but there's still those special spots that make the best slices. And LeVeon Bell and David Johnson are, really good slices of pizza. I apologize. One high-profile NFL figure won't be starting the season on the field, but he will be around week 1, and that's Jay Cutler, who's expected to broadcast the Bears' season opener against the Falcons. Maggie, do you think he'll be a better commentator than he was a quarterback?
I actually do. I think that Jay Cutler is going to really blow people away. Is this a hot take? I don't think it's a hot take. I think that he's going to be self-deprecating. I think he's going to come out and make jokes about his body language, about, the memes with him with the cigarette out of his mouth, which were fake. I think he's going to play and lean into that a little bit while being honest. I think if, say, Mitchell Trubisky, who we believe is going to be his replacement unless Mike Glennon starts the season, if he shows bad body language, I think Cutler would say something along the lines of, learn from my mistakes. I think that he actually is going to be a good broadcaster, and this is a great opportunity because he knows the Bears organization better than any, maybe Broncos, but knows the Bears so well that this is like the perfect game for him to start on.
In a lot of ways, it's a totally unrelated skill set, right? If you're criticizing Jay Cutler, you start with mistakes on the field and all that. But if you go beyond that, a lot of people wondered about his leadership or how he was as a teammate. That doesn't really matter in the scheme of the broadcasting he's doing, where it's really one person he's working with and he's giving his opinions on the game. So he can sort of play his part or play that role, put on that face for the camera. And as long as the stuff that's coming out of his mouth is eloquent and articulate, it could work out for him.
It's going to be a fun question. Who will be the better broadcaster, Cutler or Romo? I think I'm going Cutler. That's crazy. Ooh. I know. Robin, Tuesday night was SI's big party in Los Angeles celebrating the second annual Fashionable 50, featuring the best dressed athletes. Of course, number one on the list, no brainer, it was Russell Westbrook, and I caught up with him on the red carpet. Watch this.
The last couple weeks, wow, what a whirlwind you've been on, from accepting MVP, I mean, changes to the team, everything, all this good stuff. Yeah. What has it been like?
It's been amazing. It's a blessing, man. It's, obviously going from the MVP to doing different things here in LA is an unbelievable blessing. It's an unbelievable honor, especially to be here tonight. So just thankful for that.
Okay, the writer from the crossover, Rohan Nadkarni, is here. Russell Westbrook, as we were on the red carpet at our Fashionable 50 event, did not want to talk about Paul George, did not bring up the name Paul George. Should this be a red flag, Rohan?
No, I mean, first of all, I'm shocked that, you weren't able to warm him up, Maggie, first of all. That's surprising to me a little bit. I will say that it's not really surprising. It's definitely not a red flag. I think Russ is notoriously a gruff man. I'm impressed you guys got him for an interview. Frankly, even though, we were honoring him, I wouldn't read too much into that. He's just someone who likes to be focused on the task at hand. I don't think he was going to really answer any serious basketball questions there. So I wouldn't worry about it. I think that, they're definitely excited to play with each other. You saw it that night of the trade. They're posting Instagrams and stuff. So I wouldn't read too much into it.
Now, obviously, Paul George, the Thunder, his new team, but in Lee Jenkins' opinion, he wants to be a part of the newest super team. Where do you think that's most likely to happen, LA, or what about San Antonio?
So San Antonio is interesting. I've been talking with Ben Golliver, Andrew Sharp. Ben keeps bringing up San Antonio as a place where maybe some stars are going to align. I still think Paul George is probably leaning LA. Just talking to other writers, it sounds like it's just a foregone conclusion within the league that he's going to be in LA next season. The Thunder have to be a little bit worried that he's not committed there long term. Obviously, frankly, he could be a trade target at the deadline next February. So I think if Paul George is going to leave, it's going to be LA. But there's a long time between now and next summer, and we'll have to see what happens in Oklahoma City before kind of making any predictions there.
No, we have to give all credit to Ben Golliver on this. The Open Floor podcast, they are leading the charge on the Banana Boat crew uniting in San Antonio.
I have some information that maybe that theory is not fully Ben Golliver's alone. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to throw.
Maybe Rohan had a hand in this.
Yeah, I'm not going to throw Ben on. It's not me. All I'm saying is, it's very convenient Ben had that theory all of a sudden.
He wasn't on the banana boat alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can't ride a banana boat alone. That's the whole thing behind the banana boat. You have to do it with your friends. Okay, so Russell Westbrook, he's mulling a very big contract offer, but he's not the only one who could be signing a supermax. John Wall is also sitting out there not signing this long-term extension in Washington. Which franchise, Rohan, should be more concerned that their superstar may not be there for the long term?
Honestly, I think it's the Wizards. So Russ obviously has only 1 year left on his deal, whereas Wall has 2. Russell Westbrook is kind of a fiercely loyal guy. The Thunder are making big moves to kind of quell his concerns there, so I kind of expect him to re-sign. Wall, on the other hand, I mean, he had this hilarious situation this offseason where, he was angling for that Paul George trade. People were like, are you kind of dissing Otto Porter there? And he clarified, and he's like, yeah, I was. Yes. I kind of was, which is interesting. I think he's looking around the league, and he must realize, all these teams are kind of putting together a core of 3 max players, right? And he's looking around, he's looking at his, and he goes, Brad Beal, Otto Porter, is that enough? Boogie Cousins might be out there. Anthony Davis could be out there. I think Wall is a little bit more of a flight risk than Westbrook at this point.
Speaking of point guards, this really, I knew the hype was real around Lonzo Ball, but I saw his intro was the 6th most viewed piece of media in NBA Instagram history. Are we getting a little too far ahead of ourselves with the Lakers right now?
We're definitely getting a little bit too far ahead with the Lakers. I think Lonzo is going to be great. I love Lonzo. It's so much fun watching him play. The Lakers' revival is still far off, though. They're going to be kind of bad next year. There's only so much Lonzo can do. He's not going to be a 30-point per game scorer. He's not going to radically change the outlook of that team in 1 year. It's going to come down to, can they sign free agents next summer? I mean, LeBron may be out there, Paul George. Having said that, the Lakers have been striking out on free agents for years now, so their revival, their comeback is a little bit further off than people expect, but I'm glad people are excited about Lonzo. I mean, when was the last time we got this excited about a player who's known for his passing more than anything else? And I think that's great. I think he's going to energize those fans, and people are going to want to play with him.
It is really interesting that, I mean, the Lakers won 26 games last year. That was second worst in the Western Conference. How big of a leap are we expecting them to make? I mean, playoffs, that seems like a pipe dream to me. But as you said, they are angling themselves well for next summer. Meanwhile, the Portland Trail Blazers, who are maxed, capped, strapped, they want to get in on this whole Western Conference arms race. We see that Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum want to be courting Carmelo Anthony. Now, Anthony has been very strategic and specific about places that he will and will not waive the no-trade clause for that he has. Rohan, is Portland an option for Melo?
I don't know if Portland's an option. First of all, CJ McCollum's got to turn down the thirst a little bit. I feel like this is not the first time he's done something like this. You know, whether it was Paul George like a year ago, they're always out there being like, "Hey, come join us."
He's going after Melo harder than Melo's trying to get Lala back right now.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, you know, I respect his dedication, I guess, but I don't know if Portland's a realistic option for Melo. I can't see him wanting to go there. You know, if he's going to go to a Western Conference team, Houston's obviously, I think, the best bet. They're a lot closer to the Warriors than the Trailblazers are right now. I mean, he's not going to radically change the outlook for Portland. I think Houston has, like, enough pieces to kind of cover up for Melo's defensive deficiencies. I don't think Portland has that. I do kind of feel bad for the Trailblazers. They handed out contracts last summer like it was, you know, nobody's business, and now they're kind of paying the consequences of that. So I think Portland does need to make some moves. They got to find a way to shed salary. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I don't think Melo ends up there.
Now, New Orleans signed Rondo 1 year, $3.3 million. As far as roster construction, for me, it begs the question, what are the Pelicans doing?
The Pelicans are in trouble. I got to be honest. First of all, Drew Holiday, that contract really didn't make sense from the start. That's just, again, it's so much money. Are you really looking at a core of Drew Holiday, Anthony Davis, and Boogie Cousins as kind of your three max guys that are going to compete with the Warriors? I just don't see that working. Now, Rondo, you know, Rondo had this very brief revival in the playoffs last year. 2 games. And, you know, it sounds like the young guys in Boston really respected him. But for years now, Rajon Rondo has made his teams worse. I mean, the statistics bear it out. Whenever he's on the court, his teams don't play as well. It was the case with the Bulls for the majority of last season. It's impressive that he's at this point in his career, because there was a stretch last year with the Bulls where, you know, he got benched. It looked like his NBA career was over, frankly. He was able to get this goodwill back with 2 games in the playoffs. But I'm with you, Robin. It doesn't make a lot of sense for the Pelicans, and it just feels like they're throwing darts at the wall over there. You know, I love Dell Demps. His son Trey went to Northwestern University, so, you know, I got love for the Pelicans, but it's tough to watch right now what they're doing, and I don't know if they have the right pieces around Anthony Davis.
I just think that what the Pelicans look like when the season begins and what they look like right after the trade deadline and by the time the season ends is going to be wildly different. Rohan Nadkarni here from The Crossover. Loving the tie. Thanks for being here. The champ is here. UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley is here. Of course, we're going to talk about your fight taking on Damian Maia, UFC 214. But you pulled double duty as being the champion of a weight class and also a UFC on Fox Saturday Night Fight analyst, which is, it's really unbelievable. You're just multi-talented. But let's talk about this card. This is a great card. This is you defending your title. This is John Jones, Daniel Cormier. You have Cyborg on this card. Yet with Mayweather-McGregor taking up all this oxygen, champ, do you feel like you're not getting the attention and hype that this card in your fight deserves?
No, you know, I actually fought on this card for that very reason. It was a fight August 19th. It was one in September. I'm like, you don't want to fight a couple weeks before Floyd and Conor. You don't want to fight a couple weeks afterwards. People are going to still be talking about it. But this card was a big enough card with so many hits on the fight card that it was great for me to fight on it. It's going to do well. There's so many great matchups that it's going to get the attention it deserves.
Of course, we know you're going to be defending your title, and I'm not trying to dismiss that, but I do want to ask you about John Jones because this is a big comeback. In fight circles, do people believe he's even going to make it to this fight, considering all the trouble that he's had in the recent past?
Well, I sure in the heck hope so, because it changes my comments on my paycheck whether he comes or not. So I think that, you know, my job is to go out there and get the party started, get this fight in, get it over with, and I want to go back there and watch the rivalry, because it's an authentic rivalry. These guys really don't like each other. They really mean business. And, you know, even with the year away, he's still one of the best that we've ever seen in the sport. And Daniel's one of the best competitors. So this matchup, you know, it's just a phenomenal matchup.
I love the way that this belt looks in front of me right here, but I know if I went and tried to take it, I'd leave incapacitated. And I feel,
I might swing on you.
Let's try it, Rohan.
I feel when we talk about Mayweather and McGregor, some people are disrespecting the crafts and the discipline a little bit. How would you react if a boxer said he could walk into the octagon and compete at the highest level in the UFC right away?
You know, I think we got to see the fight for what it is. It's a spectacle. It's an entertainment. Everybody's talking about the press conference. Everybody's talking about the world tour they went on. Nobody's really sitting down, X's and O's, saying Conor beat this world champion boxer, or he fought against this guy. He's never fought a professional fight, let alone a 12-round fight against one of the best, if not the best boxer ever. I think he's going to come out punching. I think he has a good chin. I think he's going to give himself every chance that he can to win. But you can't really call it disrespectful just because we know what we're looking for.
I read that you would bet on Conor because of the odds. Do you actually think he has a chance?
I'm a bet on him. I mean, if Floyd slip on a banana peel, you know, I might come out on top.
Here's another bet for you. Over under 1.5 clean punches McGregor lands against Floyd Mayweather.
He's gonna land a punch. You know, I think that's part of Floyd's game. You know, sometimes you'll hit him, he'll roll off the punch, he'll hit you back. So Conor's gonna land a punch. He has one good punch that we all know about, that straight left. He can't throw any kicks. You know, I heard it's like a crazy fine if he throws a kick or something like that.
I think he loses everything.
And he'll get sued. He could get sued if Floyd decided to press.
I mean, but he really never lands those kicks. He throws them just to keep you off of them,
right.
Kind of a razzle-dazzle. But I just don't see Floyd Mayweather being one of the best defensive boxers ever, not being prepared for a straight left.
Okay, but you think he's going to land over 1.5 clean
Oh,
punches?
for sure. He'll land a couple punches.
You know, you and I have talked about this quite a bit, and it's about being the champion versus being the loudmouth.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if Conor, in a way, has sort of created a roadmap. If a UFC fighter wants to cross over into the mainstream and get filthy rich in the process, can you just do what Conor did, or is he just that unique talent, I guess, if you want to call it talent? Is he that unique person where only he can pull this off?
Well, Conor's a unique talent, and he also didn't just one day decide to do this. He's been planning and practicing and in the mirror, and he's always thought that he was going to be in a position that he was in, and that's why he's there. I'm seeing a lot, especially in my division, we got guys that watch what he does and say, okay, well, let me talk a little crap. Let me wear a suit. It's not the same thing. It doesn't have the same country behind it. He has an entire country. He has people that want to see him get beat up. He has people that want to see him win. And he actually, for the most part, actually lives up to what he says he's going to do. That's the hard part. You can talk it all you want. So when you don't have all those ingredients, I think it's actually distasteful for people to try to take his route to the top, because you make the sport look bad. You take away the respect, the honor, the discipline, the hard work, everything that goes into it that makes it a martial art. The word martial art means it's a discipline. You got to be disciplined to do it. So let Conor do his deal. He's occupying his own lane. You know, make a lot of money. That's his goal. I think everybody need to realize their own goal.
Did he take it too far with some of the racially insensitive things he was saying in the press tour and the hype tour?
I heard something about like dancing monkeys or something like that he said.
Called Mayweather boy.
Yeah, I think in general, I think he's trying to get underneath his skin. Man, they might even, you know, agree to take it to level 10. They might have went backstage and said, all right, I'm going to go all the way in. You can go all the way in. It's fun and games. We're going to make a lot of money, and let's go after it. I didn't see nothing that I'm going to sit there and, you know, put him on a cross for, personally.
You have can we call it a complicated relationship with Dana White? You guys have gone back and forth, maybe no love lost. For some people who believe that this is Conor's golden parachute out of fighting, and maybe he'll cross over to Hollywood now, we might not see him fight again. What do you think about Dana? I mean, the UFC was sold for a lot of money. How much longer do you think he wants to be the face of the league?
You know, I don't know. I don't ever want to speak, you know, fighter or promoter. I don't want to say when they're going to go away and how long they want to stay. But I think he started in boxing. I think though he's not promoting the fight, him being associated with it is really fun. I think, Floyd Mayweather is one of the best that we've ever seen. And for him to be affiliated with helping to do whatever he could to put this fight together, I think it's like a milestone in his career. So I think he does it because he really likes it. He has not been any less intense that he sold his piece or whatever. So you think that, you get those hundreds of millions, ease up a little bit, but he's still the same Dana.
Yeah, absolutely. You're close with Floyd Mayweather. Are you going to be there?
I plan on being there. I don't know if I'm going to be in this corner, but I think it would ruffle some feathers with Conor if I did. So I would definitely be down for it.
Tyron Woodley, of course, you are the welterweight champ. Can't wait to watch you. UFC 214, Damian Maia. We wish you the best of luck. And then we'll watch you Saturday, UFC on Fox. It's fight night. You're going to be calling that or analyzing the Chris Weidman fight. So we're looking forward to that. Multi-talented.
Well, I appreciate you guys.
Just another day for the champ. Thank you.
No worries.
Our next guest is SI's legal analyst, Michael McCann, to talk about the latest on the O.J. Simpson situation. So, Michael, O.J. set to appear in front of the Nevada Board of Parole later today. He's been in prison for 9 years for armed robbery back in 2007. What's the best case scenario for Simpson?
Really, the best case scenario for Simpson is that today he gets recommended for parole. The recommendation would go back to the entire group of commissioners, and they would, in all likelihood, accept the recommendation, and he would then be granted parole, and he would be released from prison on October 1st. That's the best case scenario for Simpson.
How would you handicap that? What's the likelihood it happens?
I think if the review later today goes by what are the key factors in assessing a person's parole, they'll go well for Simpson, because as John Wertheim and I examined earlier this year, there are 11 factors used in Nevada. Most of them favor Simpson. The fact that he was older at the age of his first arrest, that he's older now, that he's 70 years old, that he was retired before he was incarcerated, that he has no gang affiliation. Most of the factors that are relevant there go in his favor, and Nevada uses a point system, and John Wertheim and I did the math, and it turns out pretty well for Simpson. Now, that doesn't guarantee he's going to be granted parole. I want to be clear about that. But if we look at the metrics, they clearly favor him.
What about other past instances, such as the double murder, of course, back in '94, where he was found not guilty? Could they play into the Nevada Board of Parole's decision to determine if O.J. Simpson is safe to return to society?
The answer is they shouldn't. The answer is that his trial for murder, where he was found not guilty, should play no role whatsoever in the determination. For one, he was found not guilty. Even though a lot of people think he was guilty, the reality is that he was found not guilty. Now, what goes on in the minds of persons who are reviewing a parole is in their minds. We don't know. But these are trained professionals that have been doing this for years. They know what's relevant under the law and what isn't. And I think we can be confident that they won't let other ideas or viewpoints enter the story. The only relevance of his murder trial is that it goes to the age of his first arrest, but that's actually a factor that favors him because he was in his 40s.
So what's your prediction for how this parole hearing plays out?
You never know, but these are pretty short hearings where they basically go through the 11 factors and he answers questions. You never know what he's going to say. Also, maybe we don't have the whole story of his time behind bars, but from what we know, he hasn't gotten into any trouble behind bars. So they'll go through the factors, and it will be similar to his parole board hearing several years ago, which went very well for him, and it was only about 15 to 20 minutes long. So this could be a brief hearing that, anything he says is going to be newsworthy. But in the grand scheme of things, it's unlikely that there's going to be much news today. In fact, in all likelihood, we already know how today's going to go because the 11 factors will be applied, and most of them favor him. So if I had to make a prediction, I would say it will go well for him.
Thanks, Michael. Really appreciate it. We'll see how it goes as the O.J. Simpson case continues to play out in public.
Thanks, Robin.
Well, turning to baseball, the trade deadline is coming up at the end of the month. So here is Jay Jaffe on who is buying and who is selling before the calendar flips to August.
And Jay, the Yankees made waves trading for relief help and Todd Frazier. They're clearly going for it right now. Do you think they're done dealing?
No, I don't. I think they're probably going to go out and get a starting pitcher. They've got a lot of depth. They've got a lot of flexibility. But with the loss of Michael Pineda to Tommy John surgery and the shakiness of Masahiro Tanaka, I think they could probably use one more arm. I think it's possible they could still consider an upgrade at first base. Both Todd Frazier and Chase Headley can play the position, and either one is probably an improvement on what they've got, but another big bat in there could help.
Now the Yanks obviously buyers. Let's run through some other teams and see where you think they stand. Nationals way ahead in the division. Do they need to make any more moves, or should they stand pat?
Yeah, they need to replace Joe Ross, who they just lost to Tommy John surgery last week as well. I think they could probably use some help in the outfield. They lost Adam Eaton for the season. Michael Taylor and Jason Worth are both kind of banged up. Another outfielder could help.
What about the Mets? Could there be a fire sale in Flushing?
I think it's pretty likely they're gonna clean house. I mean, Jay Bruce is a pending free agent. So is Curtis Granderson and Neil Walker. All of those guys could be useful. I don't think they're going to get a great deal for any of them, but anything to help feed the system. I mean, they're out of it this year. They need to look towards next year.
Does it surprise you how quickly that changed for them, considering they were a team that was considered on the rise? It feels like a year ago.
I mean, it's got to be frustrating because when you've got the kind of starting pitching depth that they have, for so many things to fall apart so quickly. I mean, they just haven't had any luck in that department at all, and it is pretty surprising. But I think they can look to next year and hope that enough of those guys are healthy and available that they can compete.
Now, the Chicago Cubs, they did make good on all of their promise, but what do they have to do this year to make sure they don't miss out on the playoffs?
Well, I think the move to get Jose Quintana was a big deal. That certainly shored up the rotation. I think they're going to look for help in the bullpen. Zach Britton is a name who's been mentioned. Obviously, he would cost some prospects, but with Wade Davis, a pending free agent, he's a guy who could be look to be closer next year. I think they're going to be looking at catcher as well. After they jettisoned Miguel Montero for his critical comments, they need a backup behind Wilson Contreras. Alex Avila of the Tigers is a name that's been mentioned.
A very competitive division they're playing in as well.
Sure.
Now, the Astros, they lost star shortstop Carlos Correa for a bit with a torn ligament in his thumb. They've been the best team in the AL and have had a firm hold on the division lead, but do the Astros still need to make a move?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with Dallas Keuchel out since since early June with a pinched nerve in his neck, and with Lance McCullers having hit the disabled list once as well, there's a big drop-off between those guys and the rest of the rotation. They need another frontline arm, another guy that they can turn to if they need to win a key game in a postseason series. I'm thinking of somebody like Sonny Gray with the A's would be a good fit, but there are other alternatives out there.
How much does Correa's injury impact their strategy?
I don't think that's that big a deal for them. I mean, their offense is a juggernaut. They can move Marwin Gonzalez, who's been playing in the outfield, to shortstop and patch that through. That's probably a lesser concern than getting a starter.
Aside from the teams that we already talked about, is there one squad who you have your eyes on as a possible big mover and shaker at the deadline?
Yeah, but it's from the other side of things. The Blue Jays, who are 7 games below 500 right now. They've got starting pitching that they could deal, like Marco Estrada, a pending free agent, Jay Happ, who's signed through next year. But the big piece I'm looking at is Josh Donaldson. He's got one more year of arbitration eligibility. He would be instantly the best player traded at the deadline. A middle-of-the-order bat, an outstanding defender, and just somebody who can be a real difference maker.
Appreciate the time, Jay. Thank you.
Sure thing.
That's going to do it for this episode of SI Now. Thanks so much for watching and commenting on Facebook Live. We appreciate it. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, but you can stick with SI.com for all the latest news and headlines. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. See you tomorrow.